we get to the yard, we're ready to do big things. From the job site to the ballpark, we come together and gear up with pride, ready to perfect our craft and dare to be great. Strauss High Performance Workwear is proud to partner with Major League Baseball, celebrating the preparation and dedication it takes to safely get the job done. Because whether you're on the field or in the field, your gear is a source of pride. Strauss and Major League Baseball. Gear up, go yard.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. Agricultural meteorologist Greg Soulje is back with us here on this Friday, this Halloween Friday. Happy Halloween, Greg.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Nothing too spooky about weather in my part of the world, hopefully in your part of the world, and actually in many areas of the country. We're in a relatively good weather to wind out here this month of October and get ready to move into November.
Of course, we got that World Series going on too.
Yeah.
I mean, we had our little opening there with Strauss Workwear, and we're 3-2 now? So it's
game six back at Toronto at the Rogers. They call it Center. It's spelled Centre, but I don't want to get into that. So anyway, they're back there. I believe Clayton Kershaw is pitching for the Dodgers, which might be his last game. He's, I believe, retiring at the end of the season. So hopefully it'll be a meaningful start for you Dodger fans later on tonight.
Very good. And of course, we want to thank and recognize Strauss Workwear for sponsoring our weather segment here on Feedstuffs 365. Strauss is a family-owned global company in its third generation of designing, manufacturing, technical workwear, and footwear for farmers and craftsmen. Strauss, it's the tool you wear. So, Greg, let's find out what's going on in the weather department today.
Yeah, nothing too spooky or scary for the trick-or-treaters out across the Midwest, the plains. A little bit of a gusty wind this afternoon and evening time from the northern plains into the Corn Belt locales. But gee whiz, it's late October, and I can remember trick-or-treating 100 years ago, and cold and snow and 5 different layers on top of the costume. And I believe back in the day, the time change was before Halloween. So you guys got it good and better, and that should be the story throughout much of the Midwest. There may be a few sprinkles, and we had a couple of snowflake reports into parts of the Dakotas this morning, and it's conceivable we may see some of that into the upper Midwest and western Great Lakes region, which is not unusual for this late October, beginning November calendar date. And folks who are still trying to get it wrapped up, complete, done, whatever it may be, getting ready for the winter season on the livestock side, sheltered areas, confinement areas, Corn Belt locales for harvest. There's just nothing going on. A very quiet weather pattern here, just like the longer range stuff has played out, like we've been talking about here and on This Week in Agribusiness. But again, a few sprinkly showers into parts of the upper Midwest, western Great Lakes region. There's that big up air low that you had to deal with out through the Carolinas and areas of the northeast of New England. That's not bad weather. It's windswept. It's kind of a raw day's worth of weather. There are wind advisories out there for gusts of 45 to 50 miles per hour, but it is some of the worst drought areas. One of them across parts of the country, northern New England. And we'll take a look at that drought monitor in just a bit. Anyway, by this evening, still a few sprinkles as far south as maybe the I-80 corridor for the trick-or-treaters into the early evening hour, and temperatures generally into the 40s to low 50s, and still a windswept rain pattern for the St. Lawrence River Valley into the northeast of New England. You can see the next weather system coming ashore in the Pacific Northwest. Otherwise, much of the central and southern plains, the southeastern states, Florida, Texas, across the Southwest, across into the Pacific West in tip-top quiet shape. By tomorrow morning, a little frontal boundary will sneak its way through the Great Lakes areas. And again, there may be a few sprinkles of rain. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere within shouting distance of my part of the world and Sarah's part of the world, there may be a few snowflake reports tomorrow morning, but it is, November 1, not unusual. And so it goes. Pretty much par for the course, a day's worth of weather for the Great Lakes region. A little bit cloudy, a little sprinkly at times, and still a windswept weather pattern of wet rain and snow into New York State and northern New England. You can see that the hashed red dashed line out of Montana extending down the front range of the Rockies. That is a developing warm front. And while we get these atmospheric river systems to come into the Pacific Northwest, the jet stream pattern is west to east or west northwest to east southeast. Winds, as you sink or compress them, they come down the Rocky Mountains, they warm, and there you go. Pacific air, nothing but it. No Arctic air, no winter storms, nothing going on for now. Probably into the first half of the month of November. We'll let the cat out of the bag here. We'll have that and even a longer range outlook into the Thanksgiving holiday period on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. Anyway, a little bit of rain for parts of the Corn Belt locales. If it were earlier on in the harvest season, maybe some complaints taken to the weather office, but we are so well advanced, I suspect. Don't have any USDA numbers, but I'm just thinking that we're in very good shape by and large ahead of the game here, both with harvest, fall cleanup, whatever you have up your sleeve. Moisture for the Pacific Northwest, that's good news. They need it, especially from the divide of Idaho and Montana westward. Exceptional and extreme drought ongoing there. The winds, those lines are packed across the Dakotas and northwestern part of the Corn Belt Sunday morning. Whenever you kind of tighten up or compress those isobars, that means the winds really grow stronger. They blow stronger. And yeah, healthy south wind on Sunday for the upper Midwest, westernmost Corn Belt, northern plains, and a big turnaround in temperature readings there. A few sprinkles into the Ohio Valley, lower lakes region, inconsequential in the big picture. There's the next 48 hours. Regarding moisture, a little bit overdone in the Ohio Valley. There may be 10th to isolated quarter-inch amounts. So that's already a wet area. If you were to look at maybe some field work delays, that could be in the area south of I-70, close to I-64, close to the Ohio, and then south and through Kentucky, where we've had probably the past 10 days to 2 weeks, 1 to 2, in some spots, 3 to 4 inches of rain. And every ounce of that rain was taken into some of these parched to dry, drought-ridden soils into the Ohio Valley. So it goes a little bit of everything for everyone, and some welcome news with moisture down there, inconsequential in the gauges through the upper Midwest. Significant, though, for the northeast of New England and into the Pacific Northwest. There is the drought monitor from a couple of days ago, and we'll have a kind of a zero-in look at the Midwest, but you can see areas through the southeastern states, the lack of any tropical systems making landfall of consequence in this mid to late tropical season of the southeastern states. That's problem number one, why they are in this kind of dry, drought-ridden area. The hot ridge was over there much of the summertime season and into the fall as well. Northeast of New England through Mount Washington, down eastern Maine, problems there with extreme to exceptional drought. Same along the divide through Montana and Idaho in the Pacific Northwest. And some pretty good areas, although we've had some modest improvement in through central and southern Missouri, the Ozarks, obviously the I-70 corridor south into the Ohio River Valley, but still some areas of extreme drought. East central Illinois, Champaign, for example, around Logansport, Indiana, Kokomo, Fort Wayne, Muncie, Defiance, Napoleon, Ohio, and that Maumee Valley, northwest Ohio, and little change over the southwestern reaches of the country. And you can see a little better snapshot of the Midwestern drought areas through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, back in through Missouri. And yeah, I know we're well past the growing season, but you know, we need to get moisture in the ground this time of the year. You don't want to have to deal with snow melt, frozen grounds, and spring rains all on top of you. You want to kind of go into the next growing season and planting season, and same with these winter wheat fields, even keel in the moisture department as best you can. So you're not trying to bring it in all at once and kind of fight the battle of wet soils, compaction issues, and planting and all that. So we've got some work to do throughout the Midwest, and I think we're going to be able to get into that as in improved soil moisture until we get deeper on well into the month of November and most likely December. Then you're fighting cold weather intrusions as well. Any real weather hazards? Nope. Pacific Northwest, yeah. Northern California, really coastal ranges and the Cascades with some significant rainfall anticipated there. There is the last of Melissa. Made landfall over the eastern half of Jamaica a few days ago, packing 185 mile per hour winds. Very low barometer reading, somewhere in the top 5 to 7 of some of the strongest storms experienced in the Atlantic basin. And so some of those shipping routes out through the Northwest and Northern Atlantic will have to deal with that going forward. And the tropics are quieting down finally in the Pacific, as you would expect here as we approach the beginning part of November. And again, a little system down there, no consequence moving back to the west. The next 7 days, that's it for moisture, primarily Northern California, coastal ranges of the Cascades, and perhaps into the middle chain of Idaho. And inconsequential, really what you see in the Ohio Valley is what's going to come through over the course of the weekend, maybe a quarter inch there. And down in the southeastern states, and again, St. Lawrence River Valley, upstate New York, Mount Washington territory, down eastern Maine will get some significant and continue to get significant wind and rain out there. So much of the heartland, if you've got confinement areas, fencing, got to get feed and supplies lined up for livestock operations ready to go, by all means, this now in this coming week is your window of opportunity, probably into the second week as well, I think, for the month of November. Same will apply to the Corn Belt locales. Next 5 to 7 days, jet stream pattern is primarily what we call zonal west to east. Those green lines are compacted. That's a fast zonal west to east flow. Whenever you don't have what we call these high amplitude, these big ups and downs, the troughs and ridges, when it's this particular setup. And if you were to broaden this out and take a look at all of the northern hemisphere through Europe, Asia, Russia, Siberia, while the snowpack has been growing there, that's where the Arctic air is really situated right now. And it's really what we call a stable 3 to 4 wave weather pattern. There are main troughs almost at the main directional compasses, if I'm explaining that correctly. You've got a trough in northerly orientation somewhere in the northern hemisphere that is another 90 degrees downstream. And if you space these things out and there's no way to break them down, you are moving into a very quiet, stable weather pattern, as in what you got is what you got going forward here. And what we've got is a pretty easygoing weather pattern here, but I know the other boot and hoof's going to drop here. But for now, quiet, active in the Pacific Northwest, Pacific air off the Rockies as well. And you have a little wiggle moving on through between Tuesday and Wednesday. Another frontal system, Pacific origin, maybe a couple of rain showers now late next week across the Corn Belt, Thursday into the Plain States areas. There may be a little wet snow mixed up near the Canadian border. No major weather systems out probably the next 10, 12, maybe even 2 weeks out on the weather maps and charts. And there's a surface look at things with some compaction of the isobars, some winds that will vary in direction. They may be a little stout on some days with a chill in the air late night and early morning, but the early November sun will certainly help. And the next weather system, again, has a little rain, snow at the Canadian border and some shower activity west to east across the plains and Corn Belt locales Thursday to Friday next week. Not anything super substantial in anybody's rain gauge. Temperatures this afternoon into the upper 30s and 40s, a little nip in the air for the trick-or-treaters and through the northern plains. Everyone else into the 50s and low 60s, par for the course for late October. Here we go, Monday, November 3rd, and look at the 50s and 60s, 10, 12, almost 15 degrees above average for daytime readings from the Ohio back north and west, a little bit cool with some cloudiness and lingering moisture with the Ohio Valley mid-south. Carolina is down through Florida, a bit cooler than average. And look at the further warm up by Thursday next week, almost a week out. Daytime temperatures of the 60s and low 70s, upper 40s and 50s for the Corn Belt locales. No real cold air in sight. You can see some of the warmest air, again, as we just talked about, just east of the Rockies, in through Montana, the Dakotas, down into West Texas and Oklahoma, Panhandle, cotton, and livestock country. Pretty easy for those folks and those critters as well going forward. No super cold at night. We may be looking at some upper 30s in the Ohio Valley, perhaps at some point early next week. Maybe a frost patch can't be ruled out over the weekend down there. No big deal. And daytime readings, or afternoon, I should say, nighttime lows by late next week are very mild, upper 30s and 40s, even 50s as you get out towards the Black Hills and out through Montana. Next 6 to 10 days, the jet stream pattern is, again, you can see one of those waves through the Pacific, another one in the Atlantic. If you were to go around out towards Poland or Western Russia, the Baltic region maybe as well, another trough, and then another one as you see wrapping around back in towards the Gulf of Alaska. That is stable whenever you have these stable 3 or 4 wave patterns. The weather's quiet. You're locked into what you're locked into. Stormy in some areas of the hemisphere, quiet in others. If it gets to be 4 and 5 waves or more, you're getting into an active weather pattern, progressive one, but we don't see that going on anytime soon. And we'll talk about that in further get-togethers. There is the next 6 to 10 days. If you want the next 10 to 15 to 20 days, you got to check us out on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. We have the forecast for Thanksgiving week, travel across the country. I think it's going to be kind of okay. Just nothing really getting us all worked up in the weather office. There's the moisture pattern, primarily the Pacific West, the next 6 to 10 days. We may see something come through maybe right before, I think it's a late Thanksgiving this year. So we may see something of a non-winter persuasion come through just before Thanksgiving, and that's it. So next live stream is November 12th. And Sarah, that's all we've got on a quick and fast and a brief, well, it's about 15 minutes, but a quick and fast update for the weather office, giving one and all an opportunity to get out there and start the trick-or-treating, I guess.
Very good. We like that. Mild and non-eventful. That's a good weather thing to be in, weather pattern to be in here for a while.
Exactly. And that doesn't mean the weather guy, the weather forecaster here, has his feet up on the desk. There's always stuff to get caught up on. I just want to squelch that rumor right now. Just because there ain't nothing going on doesn't mean we have nothing going on here.
Well, that's a good point. All right.
All right.
So, Greg, have a great weekend. Thank you so much. We'll touch base next week with you.
Have a good one.
And thank you all for joining us as well.